this is like scope 3, right? It's like scope 3. Scope 3 have been a long way coming, because it's like down it's very much down the value chain and or the supply chain of every industry. So if it's something away from you, you can't, it's hard to kind of connect, and it's hard to most people also, if you compete or whatever you do, everybody, we are people. We need to have like small awards, right? Like when Jose is going to the gym every morning, I tell you, he's like, all these endorphin is blasting out, and he gets in there maybe really tired. I do sometimes, and I drag myself out, and I tell you, in 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I'm super happy that at least I went out there. Maybe I didn't get the result for that training that I wanted to, but at least I went out there. So that's the discipline. But what are you to experience? What are you two's experience around? Am I seeing the right thing, that this is like the narrative? We are getting better to communicate the ESGs now. We are getting it. It's like reaching more people. Am I kind of like understanding or experience this right, or what is happening on your sides?
I mean, on my side, there has been a significant backtracking of ESG, I think. I think a number of listed and organizations around the world are removing the ESG mainly because of, I think, the elections in the US, penalizing anyone that, is focusing on ESG, because ESG is a liberal movement, according to some people, but which I completely disagree. I think, and that's the first thing I'm seeing. But the thing is, it's not a backtracking of commitments or the social impact. Is more like removing ESG from the narrative, just the name of it, to minimize anyone question you it. So that's one of the things I'm seeing, which is negative. However, I feel that companies are still trying to do something good in terms of ESG, but just doing it in a different language and terminology. I think for me also, what I'm seeing in practice is that ESG helps you standardize, so you can compare yourself with your competitors too. And I think you mentioned you have the CSR, no, what's it called? The EU called it the non-financial indicator regulation, or NFDR. Then you had so you had all around the world, you had all these non-financial indicators that required to be reported. And ESG is basically just, I love how Shannon said, the math problem is giving you the equation to you to put it in, and to help you standardize that approach. So the other aspects I'm seeing on top of backtracking of the ESG language is that companies are standardizing that approach further. So by mapping clearly, what have they reported on previously, what are things they're not reporting on, and what can they actually measure and track. And that's the kind of standardization I'm seeing, but they're not naming it ESG. And that's the fundamental point, because the ESG terminology has been, unfortunately, like climate change. I mean, look at climate change. You talk to someone about I was called the Greta of reporting, imagine, sometimes, right? And imagine having that. I'm not telling anyone what they need to eat. And effectively was like, oh, if you send the financial statements to Jose, he might find some issues on greenwashing. And no, don't send it to him. So, and that's, if you think, and that's, I think, the problem, that climate change is always been political since the Kyoto Protocol, but I think then adding ESG to it is a double whammy. And if you think of those hot decision makers who are already against climate change, they're not going to integrate ESG. But that's unfortunately, the ESG terminology is reducing, but companies are still doing the same. I mean, Cambridge University now calls it competitive sustainability. And they've released a paper which I'll share with you guys after. And that was a fascinating new. I mean, it's really long, but I like the ESG because it was nice and short. But then this one is longer. I mean, what does competitive mean? And defining that, well, that's a different topic. I think sustainability is already refined. So that's what I'm seeing, but we shouldn't lose faith on it. I think companies are still doing it. Just unfortunately, the financing arms are just being a bit reserved about it.